I did that too. So,
good morning, everybody. My name is Matt Baylor, and I manage the extensions directory.
Thank you.
I'm just going to go over some of the things I've started to work on to change in the past 2 months. I've taken over the role of managing the directory. We've been adding a lot more new volunteers, so we can speed things up for you guys as developers, so you don't have to wait for a month to get your new submissions published. We streamlined the volunteer positions. I kind of made an ultimatum a few weeks back that every team member is going to at least screen reviews and submissions, so it's not reliant on 1 or 2 people when they have time. So, you know, Peter, he does a lot of coding for us. If he has a low point, has nothing better to do, he can get in there and he knows how and what to do. We're working on putting together a dedicated project portal with Project Fork and Joomla's Guru, so we can make some video tutorials to teach new members how to do tasks within the JED. So we don't have to rely again on one person aligning the moons to get together on Skype to train. And Project Fork, so we can keep track of what we're doing instead of 50 Google Docs. We've begun migrating the entire site to GitHub. So for our 3.0 conversion that we're beginning, once we get converted to 3.0, we're going to make the GitHub repository public so anybody can contribute that wants to. I see faster deployments of new features and a lot better handling of everything using GitHub. Review system. And I think my slides are out of order. That's about right. All right, so we're putting together a new review system that will deploy on the 3.0 version once we migrate from 1.5. And we really took a hard look at where we want to go with reviews and the current system that kind of sucks. Peter's come up with a new algorithm, and my projected timeline is yesterday we hammered out pretty much the rest of the details. In the next week or two, I'll put out a blog post with the details and get some community feedback. We'll make some adjustments. We'll send it to the CLT for approval, and then we'll implement it hopefully in March if we get 3.0 out by then.
2013.
The current review system, which is kind of real stinky about it right now, is we see 2 extremes. We see a review like this. Sorry, Nicholas, but you get picked on all the time. Perfect Jube. Really? Thanks for the effort. I mean, that tells me nothing as an end user of an extension that I'm looking for, if it's worth my effort and time to use. And we see the other extreme, which, sorry, there's no audio, but this is a YouTube video of a review of the Serenotech Facebook extension plugin, and it's this teen girl doing a lot of like, you know, and about 3 minutes in, I'm thinking, holy shit, get to the point. So we see those 2 extremes. We see, you know, a review that's worthless because it's too short, and a review that's a long diatribe of their experience, which may be relevant to some people, but get to the point, you know. And the same thing doesn't apply to everybody. You might be looking for an extension for a golf website that you're building, and you might be looking for one for, I don't know, men's club, teacups.
Sorry.
You know, you might want to use the same extension. You might have a bad experience because it didn't work in your application, but for you it worked great. You know.
Thank God.
So we want to. We're driving for a more informative review, so we're going to break it down into 4 categories: functionality, support, documentation, and ease of use. We're dumping the star concept completely. We're going to each category is going to have its own little slider that you can pick from, like maybe 1 to 100 of your rating for that category. And then each category is going to have its own text block that you can write your little review, limited to 140 characters per block. We figured if you can tweet 50 times a day and say something in 140 characters, you can write a review in 140 characters. And we're going to add an optional, what did I use this for block? Because like the example I gave, it may have worked for you for your teacup site, will it work for my golf site?
Love you.
So you'll be able to see, okay, this person used this in this application, and it will probably work for me.
This is when we put a review in. Currently, it tells us the guidelines. Are we just totally pieces of crap? Is that?
I won't call everybody pieces of crap, but there's a lot of people that do not read.
I included myself.
But I'm not going to label anybody that. There's a lot of people that do not read. And there's a lot of people that English is their second, third, fourth language.
Sure.
And a lot of things get mixed into translations. But all those rules are there, but I bet you we reject 30% of incoming reviews on a weekly basis.
So this will just make it like
more direct and to the point.
Okay, that's a good way of putting it.
Yes. With the new algorithm Peter's come up with, the reviews, the scoring is going to be based on age of the review, because the review left 2 years ago for Victor's SH4 SEF program might be great, but over the past 6 months he might have released 3 new versions and had problems. When I look back,
that did not happen, by
the way. Example. Well, let's flip it. Let's flip it. You had a problem a year plus ago, and the new versions fixed those problems. And you look back at those reviews and you see those crappy reviews back in the past, which really don't apply anymore, because you put out new versions, you added functionality and whatnot. So we're scaling the weight of the reviews over time. So the vote, sorry. So as time goes on, they slowly mean a little less, a little less, a little less.
This is months?
Yep. Yes.
Then
yes.
Can I like renew my better rating if like over the course of a number of years I did a review, gave a really good score, and then as time goes on my score gets less relevant, but I still love the extension. Can I revamp?
Yes, you'll be able to change your reviews.
Okay.
And we're putting in a 7-day grace period in the beginning there, where a vote won't count for anything for 7 days. So it gives a developer time, if he sees a crappy review come in, you have the opportunity to fix it and get the person leaving the review a chance to be happy and fix it. And it lets us catch a lot of the crap coming through before it hits the street and affects your ratings.
What is weighted? What is the you said you're getting rid of the 5-star system. We go to these 4 categories. Is each one of those individual categories going to be weighted? Is there going to be an overall rating at all too? Yes,
there's going to be those 4 categories, and then there's going to be the overall score, and it's going to be a number score. You know, like 4.789.
Sounds familiar, yeah.
Yes.
0 to 10 scale.
Yeah, we're using 1 through 10.
1 through 10. I'm sorry. Yes.
So you mentioned the renewing of reviews, but will there be a requirement for that review to be based on a new version? Because otherwise, it kind of defeats the purpose in my eyes anyway. If I reviewed his extension, which had a problem 2 years ago, and I just keep putting that review back up, but it's an extension which is so outdated that it's say for 1.5, and we're at 3.
Actually, part of when we didn't have time to mock up what a submission form is going to look like, but and what the review will look like after it's published. But in the bottom, it's going to have the version number that you reviewed it against. So if you change the review, we'll add another review, but it won't factor in with mathematically, and then you'll be able to see the version number that you reviewed it for, what version you're talking about. And that's based on the version that you guys, the developers, put in your listing. So if you don't update your listing, it's too bad for you. Yes?
So if I don't like the reviews I'm getting, I can add one line of code and call it version 3.0 now, and all my old reviews are gone?
No, they're not gone. They
Okay.
remain. Yeah, they remain. Yeah.
Will there be a way to view the reviews for an individual version?
For
individual version?
Individual version. Yeah, we're gonna add some filters so you can filter through.
So the version that gets tagged for that review will be the current, most recent version you
Yes.
did.
Yes.
Which is not necessarily accurate, but so instead of saying reviewed against this, it might be more accurate to say current version at time of review.
Certain.
That's a
X,
good point.
because you don't know what version that users are actually using.
Certain.
Unless you ask them. You can say
And
what
you
version
still,
are
and you
you
still,
ready,
and you,
then they wouldn't know how to
and you,
look it up.
and you still don't know what, depending on what they say. Yeah.
And all the old reviews from the old system we're going to port over. We're going to count them mathematically using the same scale, but we're just going to have like a block below the newer reviews called legacy reviews. So the history's still there. So no one's losing anything from the old system when we move. Yes.
Will you be considering like a 2.5 and 3.0 extensions, like two separate extensions? Because you was talking about a current version, but right now I might have a current for 2.5
Yeah.
and current for
Really?
3. So how will you handle that?
We really haven't discussed that too much. I mean, this is just our initial, hey, this is our idea, and we want feedback, So once I make the blog post in the next week or two, that's when I really want feedback so I can see what we need to adjust based on how you guys feel. Yes?
So one thing as an integrator and as a user, going a comment for the people who make components and other things here, please make your version numbers easily accessible and visible in your components, because sometimes you want to go and do a review and it's very difficult to go and find it. And it even isn't even sometimes in the manage extension thing in Joomla, which is ridiculous, but yeah.
Yes, Mark?
Plus, just make sure you put your email address and your website address so it does show up in the extension manager when you go looking for stuff, because I go looking for updates, and I'm a pretty good researcher, but even with knowing how to hunt and peck and find the needle in the haystack, I spend half an hour looking for something that should take me 2 seconds to find, and you guys are using free advertising. It's hard.
Yes.
Okay, I can definitely see why we extension developers would want this kind of information. I can see why the JED would want to provide it. But have you actually surveyed the users who would leave these reviews? Because the more that we put a lot of fields in front of them and ask them a lot of information, already the percentage of people who leave reviews is very tiny compared to the people who buy extensions, right? So if we make it that much more burdensome for them to do in the name of trying to get more data, we might actually see less reviews, and I'm concerned about that.
A lot of the feedback that I've gotten from users was they want that optional, what did you use this for block.
Yeah, that's nice.
Everybody that I've talked to wants that type of feature so they can, say, hey, this might work for me, it might not, it worked for this person. But I don't think right now, we're only asking, for 4 blocks, 140 characters apiece. It's not too much more than what we already have content-wise to get, a decent passing review without loading it with a bunch of crap. So, will it drop off? Possibly, but I think over time it'll pick up as we add new functionality.
And at the same time, if you have it like a good work review, not adding it is probably not an issue.
Is each section required, or is it
Yes.
like 2 out of 4 sections?
No, each section is going to be required, because then you're losing a lot of.
As in doing the slider bar or adding text.
I'm asking for the text part.
Oh, the text, it'll all be required to be filled
It may not
out.
apply though in some cases.
wouldn't apply.
Support, for example, maybe you use the extension, then you do not use support, if I'm not able to rate for the support.
Make the slider required in the text option.
Well, there's always that option, like you can have a radio button, I didn't need support, or somebody can put it in there, it's not. Honestly, I think that, by targeting what you're asking for, it would make it easier to leave a review personally. Because I know exactly, I put what I thought of the documentation here, I put what I thought of the support here, and the extension here, done.
Have you looked at Amazon reviews?
Yes.
That's the best.
We looked at Amazon, Newegg I looked at over the past couple days. I've looked at eBay, quite a few of them, and there's no perfect review system. I mean, there's always it's just finding a balance and trying to make it work. But as I said, this is just hey, this is our idea and this is what we want to run with over the next couple of weeks. You can hop in the forum and yell at me till your heart's content. And we'll listen.
Is it going to look like Bootstrap?
Yes, it's going to be bootstrapped actually, and Kyle Bedletter is going to bootstrap it for us.
Right. Okay.
And that's why we wanted he made the suggestion of getting away from the mundane star reviews and using bootstrap stuff. Documentation, our documentation is another area that sucks. It's scattered everywhere, and for the past couple weeks, a couple of the guys have been trying to pull all of our docs off of docs.joomla.org and putting it into the iMacMa help desk, so it's all in one location. And it's after we get it moved over, we'll start refining it and updating things and making it a little more user-friendly, because finding things stink. A lot of support tickets are because people can't find what the rule is for this, or how do I go about doing this. And it's in the documentation, it's just awful to find. Community choice is a thing that was a Peter idea with the JCM magazine. We're replacing the editor's picks with extensions that come from the community, which you can go to the JCM website and submit your pick of the month, and those guys will filter out and choose 10 of their favorite, or 10 of the most popular submissions, and we'll list them for the month. Starting January 1st, we will begin delisting extensions that also distribute non-GPL Joomla extensions from their same domains. I think that's kind of self-explanatory. I'm sorry?
I thought that already was a requirement.
It is. It's a requirement for anybody submitting new things.
Grandfather clause is going away.
Yeah, the grandfather clause is going away. We need to get on one set of rules for everybody, because trying to remember, okay, this person came along at this point and they followed these rules, and it's too much of a waste of time for us.
Do you have an idea what percentage of the JED is grandfathered in and not live?
I really don't think there's a whole lot that will be affected. There will be some bigger, older developers, but hopefully they'll make adjustments. They've had the past 4 years to do it. Well, now we're finally saying time's up. Let's move on. Once we get to 3.0, down the road, we want to look at adding APIs so developers can update their extensions without having to log in. So you don't get that, you don't have the most recent version attached, type thing. And abilities for people to do like version checks, ping the JED for what's the current version for this extension. We're going to add like more compatibility fields in the details, like PHP version numbers, Bootstrap compatible, all whatever we can think of. We're going to look at forcing you guys to update your listings at least once every 6 months, because there's probably hundreds of listings in there that are dead. There's the domains are just gone, and they don't get flagged to us because we rely on the community to report those listings so we can take them off, but it's just like reviews. 1 in 10 people probably report it that see it. So there's a lot of broken links out there that need to get cleaned up. So we're going to implement a system that sends you an email every 6 months if you haven't updated your listing, that says, hey, come look at me and come hit a button and make sure everything's okay. And if you don't update it within a few weeks after you get that notice, we'll send you another notice and say, hey, final chance. And then if you don't update it by that timeline, we'll just unpublish it automatically. Same with automatic link checking.
So this will be it's a great idea. This will be the first time in history probably that the JED contracts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Joomla history.
Yep.
I wanted to leave here with a working document for a revision of the terms of service. And we got time. Does anybody have, a lot of the rules in the terms of service are put there because people abuse the system, and we needed to say, hey, stop it. And I think a lot of them can go away. A lot of them can be reworded because there's poor language in there. Any ideas? Anybody have any specific ones that irritate them that they want to see changed?
There's one in there where if you want to advertise your extension, you have to say it exactly this way. And so when you're giving support and you're asking a person for a review, you have to say, if you use this extension, please leave a review. Well, if you're giving support for the extension, they're obviously already using it.
Yep.
But the way that it's worded in the terms of service, it has to be exactly that phrase. And if you don't use exactly that phrase, your extension is going to be unpublished type of thing. And so I think for a lot of developers, it scares them that they have to use that exact phrase. So if little things like that could be changed, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I think I posted this in the forum before I left last week, and that was one of the big ones that everybody that didn't come today brought up so far.
And it's just a little thing. This is awesome what you guys are doing, so I really appreciate that.
Support on the Joomla.org family forum. When someone's using your extension and asking for support, and as the extension developer, you're trying to help them. I've not experienced this personally, but I've seen it in my developer friends. They experience difficulties trying to offer good support because of the terms of service. They feel like they're often violating the terms of service, or they are violating the terms of service because of the way that someone's asking for support and they're trying to help them.
Well, that's a forum thing. That's not that's the forum terms. We're just looking at the JED terms.
Okay.
Yeah. And our spot on the forum is just our thread in the forum is just we're just camping there. We don't want to start our own forum,
The forum actually
we play by their rules.
changed that recently, and they made it a lot more lenient. So now developers can actually provide support on the forum and say, here's my documentation, and actually leave a link. Whereas before, you couldn't leave a link to your own documentation. So yeah, they've made that part a lot more lenient, and yeah.
Anything else?
Is there any plans to build in fraud, more robust fraud detection?
I think once we get to this new review system, we're going to see a lot less of those fraudulent reviews, a lot less. And I don't know how you would explain it, but is that what you mean, like with reviews?
So I guess what I'm saying is that no matter what changes you make, I really truly believe that there is a black market underground review bumping system where people go out and pay or put reviews on extensions that are fraudulent. They're basically fake reviews, and someone is making money or getting some kind of benefit from this. So I believe that exists. No matter what change you make, that's going to adapt if that exists. Maybe it doesn't. I don't want to sound like a crazy dude, but so what I mean is, are there tools on the back end that you can use to help? I know it's very difficult, but to maybe help make it more easy to detect fraud.
Yeah, we already have a lot of them
I
in
know.
backend. Also custom made, not what is standard in most strip. So, and in the new system, we'll renew those and make them better. So yeah, that's kind of my job on the team, to hunt down the assholes. So yeah, unfortunately, there are a lot of abusers, and in certain categories especially. So yeah, that's on our agenda. We have to make it as watertight as possible, and yeah, I think the new review system will also the 7-day grace period will help a lot, because a lot of people just want to see, if they vote now, they see the jump in the value of their extension, and if that doesn't happen, a lot will just give up.
They'll you know,
Yeah,
public, right? They'll
you can't prevent it, but we're active on that area. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know, I'm more on the user end, and there will be extensions that just have oodles of old reviews. Do you know how many of those? What am I trying to say? It seems like it'll make the newer ones able to reflect more fairly against the really old ones and have just history. Have you done any just initial checks on that to see, you know, which ones go from 600 reviews to 100? And suddenly, the other extension with 200 that was out 2 years ago, you know, they both might have the same score, but certainly from a user's perspective, I'm going to go, oh wow, that new one's a lot better under this new system. It seems like an improvement.
And actually, there's a complement to that. We didn't speak about it, but there was on one of the slides a legacy reviews question mark. And so, how do you plan on basically, you know, moving the old reviews to the new system?
Oh yeah, so I touched on that. We're just going to bring them over. We're going to mathematically include them, because all your you have 4 categories, but all you're really calculating is the overall. So we're just going to add, you know, all those old reviews into the math.
As an overall?
As an overall, and then.
So they'll be there.
Yes, they'll be there, and then the actual written reviews will be below for history purposes.
Yeah, the reviews will still be chronologically ordered.
And so, do you think it'll make the newer extensions able to compete better, as opposed to the ones that are much older that have this huge? Because that's one of the reasons we've hesitated to release anything is there's 2 plugins and you know one of them's really bad, but it's got 1,000 reviews. Are those going to just drop down dramatically in terms of the number of reviews they have?
The number of reviews will stay the same. We're not removing any reviews.
Okay, so what happens after 2 years? The votes drop off. The weight of the votes. So they might have 1,000 reviews,
They have a lot of reviews, but the score actually fluctuates depending on how good it currently is.
Yes.
So after a year, if we take the 2-year system, that's still up for debate. But if we take the 2-year drop off, then after a year, it's only worth about 50%. So the value, so if you have a lot of good reviews now and a lot of bad reviews in the past, it'll gradually go up and up.
Mark,
once we have it perfected for what we're going to change into for English, it depends to take it multilingual. Because there's people who don't even speak English, or it's a 3rd or 4th language, that they're totally missing out on feedback on an extension. And we have such a worldwide community. We got the tool like Josetta. Let's open it up to the world. You know, it's a big down the road kind of thing, but I think going multilingual would be a smart thing to do.
Yeah, I think so too. And that's something down the road.
We're missing out if we don't.
But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, okay.
2 comments on the terms that you asked feedback for. One, and I was around obviously when a lot of those were put in because there's so much fraud. I would say I would recommend caution removing things until you know, or maybe move things slowly, watch your fraud if you can, and monitor and kind of go back and forth, because my worry is that as you take things out, people go, oh, now there's an opportunity for me to do something that I was supposed to not do before, and I was, you know, so that's just a cautionary note. I'm not really sure how well it is, but you could definitely provide a summary at the top. I think someone mentioned in one of the talks, right? Basically, if you had a summary at the top of the terms that said, just don't be a dick,
That's what I was thinking.
Details below. You know what I mean? But a little summary, more people might read, at least just a quick overview of a few things. And the final thing is there terms that I agree to when I attach my extension? I forget. So when I click that box, what exactly are you saying you will or will not do with the files I attach?
We own you.
That's something I would like more,
and Peter's
more prominent.
Peter's coming to pick up your firstborn next week. But actually, I think those terms are agreed to when you register for an account. I think that's the only time you're actually agreeing to them. But if we do change the terms, I think we do need to send everybody a pop-up to say, hey, we changed stuff, go read.
Yeah.
If you included allowing people to enter a private field, a URL where they installed the application, you would eliminate your fraud. It's gone.
Verification.
So you created a URL field where people could include the URL where they installed the application. All those fraudulent reviews would be gone.
Except there's privacy and security issues.
Definitely.
Local host development, if I'm working on a project locally, and I've installed the extension that was complete crap and I didn't get anywhere further past that.
There's no local.
Well,
but you're it's also security if you have a VPS.
There's no issue with an extension. They can simply go to a reviews and go to hack all those sites.
The logging company told you that where you stayed there. If an owner established one reviewed it, they just take it.
But it could be a private field for people to judge the review quality.
I think
it could be local host could be an option, or internet, for example. But
I think it's more effective to have a checkbox and say, this is a fraud phone.
Okay.
So if I understand correctly, you're going to keep the legacy reviews. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to challenge that. What is the point for, even for me, like I have, compared to you guys, I have nothing, but I have 2 tiny little plugins in the JED. I don't want a review from 3 years ago. It has no value because my software has moved.
It's not going to have any value
I want that
after.
as a user.
After
It's valuable because, for example, there's a lot of extension developers from 4 years ago. They have 5-star after 5-star after 5-star. That's a developer I know that I can trust because 4 years
but
ago.
He's going to have a cumulative score.
Yeah, that's the score. But if I can read the reviews, even if they're not in the score,
even
as
if
a user,
if it's for a version that's like for 1.0.
Because if that developer was
Say
trusted in the past,
if
he's been doing it for he or she's been doing it for 4 years, I can trust them in the future likely.
Right,
and
but
I like that.
But that
has much more anyway.
To come on board.
Why? No, just work hard so you keep the reviews.
Okay. All right, guys. Take these review questions to the forum, please.
I have something that's not exactly review related, but like, sorry. So, is there going to be an easy way to write, like you're coming to the JED and you're looking for something? Is there going to be an easy way for me to say, I don't care about anything unless it's 3.0. I don't even want to see them. Filter them all out.
That's
where I'm
what
navigating. We need that.
That's the filters and with the
not having to go through the search, but like a filter to say, I don't ever want to see.
It's like a facet. You just check the box.
Yeah. That's something we have on the table to work on. Yes.
Yeah.
Nick.
Yeah, I heard somewhere online that you might be moving some of the code to GitHub so that other people can contribute or help. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I missed the first 5 minutes, so I apologize for that. That would be really awesome. That way people, if they do want new features and they're willing to code it, they can send a pull request and they can do it. That would be awesome.
Don't put your fraud tools on GitHub.
No, but the scoring thing will be the algorithm.
I guess just kind of a side note from a user's perspective, 2 of the things that frustrated me with the JED is one, that and you may have gone over this because I missed the first few minutes too, but one, the search is not working at all.
Yeah.
And 2, when I wanted to actually register for an account, I had a very hard time finding where to register, and it took a long time to get the email to verify, and like just if you could do a Facebook connector, just make it quicker.
We
You know,
have
I
a
was
Facebook connector.
good, because I almost just didn't leave my review because I got frustrated and
Yeah,
waited.
we use Alex's
Should need to get a Twitter one
Facebook
too.
account, or Connect extension. And actually, those guys have been working on, was it?
Open Graph Actions.
Open Graph Actions. So when people leave reviews, they can have the option to send a post out to their Facebook account. I reviewed extension XYZ on the extensions directory.
Currently, the terms of service that is presented by the JED has no legal bearing because Open Source Matters is the only legal organization and they're not making, there's a disconnect between the JED team, OSM, and the business owner. Because the JED could technically do something that goes against what OSM wants them to do.
Actually, no.
No?
Our terms of service, we come up with what we want, we send it to the CLT, they say yay or nay, and then it goes to the OSM, to the lawyers.
Right, but someone on the JED could still do something contrary to that and cause legal repercussions to OSM because OSM signed off on it. And the JED has no repercussion because they didn't make the agreement, OSM did, in the legal. So you wrote it, OSM has to uphold it and take all the beatings, the JED doesn't.
What is the problem here?
The problem is the JED screws up and OSM takes the fall.
When does OSM take the fall?
OSM gets sued.
Example?
It's a liability issue. I mean, I think he's right. There's a liability issue because there's no, what we check as terms of agreement, it's not a legal contract between anybody. It's just saying, I'm going to follow these terms. But actually, there has to be some legal relationship to when I say those terms, otherwise they're kind of bullshit, right? So the legal representative of Joomla then is OSM. So I think you're right that there needs to be some kind of legal pass-through there. Those terms represent a legal agreement between the content submitter and OSM.
They do actually. Essentially, in the terms of service, it does mention OSM, and yeah, I think it does cover that.
It's fine by me if it does, but
yeah, I think the first like 2 paragraphs just is nothing but OSM, OSM, OSM. And those areas aren't changing. It's just the rules within the terms of service that we're looking to clean up. Let me go to the next thing and then I'll answer questions if we have time. I don't have all the answers, I don't have all the ideas either. I rely on everybody else to help. Even with the great team members that we've found so far. But I have just a little survey here. If you could change one thing about the extensions directory, what would it be, why, and how would you implement that change? You want to fill them out on the paper and give them to me? Take one and pass them around.
If you got ideas on magazine feedback, we think this is the first time we did it this month. If you got ideas for we can include in the interface between us and the JED, we're open. So just let us know. And some point we contact Matt and the magazine team. If it's a new thing, so read through the mud on the wall. It can be improved in some way, probably.
Yeah, the idea of the new community pick.
Yeah.
It's been implemented a bit in the wrong way.
Speak up, please.
It was a communication problem and it was like a last minute idea thing. The idea was that there would be each month like 5 people giving their top 3 to the community magazine, or their top 1, with an explanation of why they use it or why they think that should be mentioned. So it's an in-depth view of community members and why they choose that extension.
Well, or what we maybe do is like the top 5 picked on the first month, even though they may be picked again for the next month, they can't be picked as the top extension for like a 2 or 3 month period, because that way it gives an opportunity for the 3, 4, 5, 10, number 20. So it also exposes new extensions that, you know, maybe a fan favorite amongst people who go to teacup sites.
Yeah, but exactly, and it wasn't the idea wasn't to open it up for everybody, because the problem now is they have hundreds of forms coming in, and
It's the first month we've done it.
Yeah.
We're gonna, a year from now, it will probably be a lot different.
Yeah.
You know, and better, because we want the feedback. And I'm sure Matt and his team, they're gonna use that as a tool, we're gonna feed them information from you guys.
Yeah, so
For me, it drives it. It's not
we're still ironing it out.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying, I'm interested, you know, I see the potential for making it a better thing for us and for Matt and the community. And, you know, it's not perfect.
All right, the last thing I got, I'm always looking for new volunteers. There's a QR code to the volunteer application. We need help in any way, you know, between coders, you know, help in the forum, documentation. I know no one wants to volunteer for that. Just about any role. We want to get some videos made for tutorials and just about anything. You want to help? Fill out an application. And that's all I have. Thanks. Oh wait, one more question.
Yeah, just one more question about the reviews. It's a little late, but one of the things I don't like ever about users is when they enter something somewhere where they're not supposed to. For instance, in a review form, they ask for support.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's like a very common thing, and it doesn't matter whether it's a good review or a bad review. The review section is never a place to start a support discussion. So you
won't
just
happen
mentioned
anymore.
before, like the forum is not the piece of cake of the JED, and you're just camping out there.
You were late.
You missed it. Are you thinking about some kind of integrated solution, like the text of, like, if you want to have support, click this link?
You should have been here earlier.
That's the thing I'm late for.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
I just have a quick question on the keywords mentioned.
Yeah.
You plan on leaving the reply button on developers to write to a review, or is that
up for debate?
Yeah, it's up for debate. It's up for debate. Please ask in the forum so I don't forget.
I don't know if this has been discussed too, for the developers, is there like a redemption system where if somebody says, oh, this was crappy and this was crappy, and you can prove that, you know, this wasn't what it was?
I actually missed a portion of those review changes. We're going to exclude a percentage off the top and off the bottom from counting it all. Because every now and then you get that flake review, the irritated customer that just is looking for revenge. Those won't even count. They won't even be an issue.
That's also one of the steps to prevent the fraud voting. It's probably going to be the top 3% and the bottom 1% that won't count. Something like that.
All right. Thanks for
You guys
coming.
talk.